Okay, guys, so what we're doing is we had issues with how to solve these two-step problems. And when we turned this in, I asked you guys how many of you had problems with this, and everyone raised their hand. And most of you said you had problems with the fractions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so before we start the fractions, I want to review this one and make sure everyone's okay with this. So what I have here is 3 times the quantity, x plus 5 equals 45. Now in the past, we've always undid the addition first. But can we do that in this case?
No.
What do we have to undo first? Anthony?
Since you're multiplying by 3, you have to divide by 3.
Okay, so since I'm multiplying my quantity, I have that parentheses, I have to divide by the 3. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to divide this whole thing by 3. So since I divide left side by 3, Ty? Yes, write this down. So since I divide the left side by 3, what do I have to do to the right side? Divide it by 3 as well. Okay, so what happens, let me change that. That was pretty cool, but that was weird. What happens to these two 3s? They cancel each other out. No more 3s. So what do I have left on this side all by itself? My quantity, x plus 5. And what is this? 45 divided by 3 equals 15. Okay, now this looks a little more manageable, a little more like what we're used to. So what do I do now, Josh?
Undo the addition.
I undo the addition, and how am I going to do that?
Subtracting.
Subtracting what?
5.
5. So I'm going to subtract 5. So if I subtract 5 from the left, what do I have to do to the right, Tyler?
You subtract 5 from that. Also.
Subtract 5 from that also. I'm going to do the new way. You, of course, can do the old school way. So what happens to these? They cancel each other out, or positive 5 minus 5 equals 0. And do we have to write the 0? No, so that's what we mean by cancel each other out. And I'm left with just x equals, and then 15 minus 5 is 10. Any questions on that one? Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So what's the first thing I have to do here? Nakia, what's the first thing I have to do on this one?
You have to divide the 2 with the p plus 7.
Okay, so I divide this whole quantity by 2. And what do I do to this side? I do the same thing. 2 divided by 2 equals what?
0.
Not 0.
1.
2 divided by 2 equals
1.
1. But do I have to write the 1?
No.
No, because I'm talking about multiplication, and 1 times anything is itself, the thing. So 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times x is... Okay, so all I have to write is my p plus 7. And then what's 18 divided by 2? 9. All right. Spencer, what do I do next?
You subtract 7 from the right and left side.
I subtract 7 from the right and left side. Once again, I'm doing the new way, but you can by all means do the old way. My 7s do what?
Cancel each other out.
They cancel each other out because they equal 0. And I'm left with p. And 9 minus 7 is 2. Okay, so for this one, what should I do to make sure this is right? I should check. So I'm going to shrink this and I'm going to move it. I'm going to pick another color.
Purple.
Red.
Can we see that?
No, do red.
Can we see that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I rewrite my formula. What do I put in? Oh, come on. Here for P.
Put your P.
Put your answer.
I put my answer, which is what?
2.
2. All right. So when I rewrite this, it will be 2 times the quantity 2 plus 7 equals 18. Okay, remind me, where did this 2 here come from?
Your P equals 2.
My P equals 2. All right. What do I do first? Can I multiply yet?
No.
No. So, Leah, what do I do first?
You have to write 2 parentheses 9
And-
parentheses equal 18.
Okay, so I have to write 2 parentheses 9. Where'd you get that 9? 2 plus 7. Okay, so we didn't just randomly pull that out of the air. We did 2 plus 7 equals 18. What does this little parentheses right here mean?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. So if I see a parentheses, this is the same thing as
2 times 9.
that.
I always write that. I never put parentheses.
I didn't either.
It is fine if you write that, but we have to know that if I see this, it means
The same thing.
the same thing as this. Because in the homework, we had some problems where they did parentheses because one of them was a negative number.
Yeah.
And you'll see that quite often instead of the dot. Because that ensures that you know it's a multiplication and not a subtraction problem. Okay? All right, so let me get rid of this so it doesn't like throw us off. All right, so what am I going to do next? Anthony?
2 times 9.
2 times 9, which equals?
18.
18 equals 18. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Yes, so I check it off. It is good to go. Questions? We good? All right, so let's go to the next one. Now this one is set up a little differently. What's different about this one? Someone who hasn't answered yet. Alexa.
They didn't put the 20 in front of the t plus 9.
They didn't put the 20 in front of the t plus 9. But does that change our problem?
No.
No, because we have those little rules and properties that we learned in the beginning. And when I'm multiplying, does the order of my numbers matter?
No.
No, it does not. When does the order of my numbers matter?
Subtraction and division.
Subtraction and division. Okay, so in multiplication, the order does not matter. So what am I going to do first? Even though it's written in a different order, what am I going to do first? Leah? I'm going to divide. And what am I going to divide by? 20. So divide both sides by 20. What happens to these?
Bring it down.
Cancel.
They cancel. And then I bring down, like Alexa was saying, my t plus 9. Let me rewrite my t a little bit so it make sure it doesn't look like a plus sign. That's why I put the little doohickey on the bottom.
I hate those.
Yeah, but they're kind of necessary, so they don't look like plus signs. And then what is 140 divided by 20? 7? 7. And then what am I going to do?
Subtract 9.
Subtract 9 from both sides. My 9s do what?
Cancel out.
Cancel each other out, leaving me with
T.
t. And then 7 minus 9.
Negative.
Connor.
Negative 2.
Negative 2. It's a negative answer because
7 is.
You can't subtract 9 from 7.
7 is smaller than 9, so I'm going to go past 0 into my negative numbers. Okay, so we're all pretty good with this. Did anyone have very many problems with these? No fractions, just this. Is that a yes, I had problems, or a question?
I didn't have problems, but I like the new way better because when you're doing the old way, you don't know whether to put your 9 minus 9 in front of 7 or like behind it.
Okay, so if I wanted to do it the old way, let me do a different color. So if it was t plus 9, then I would just, I would know in my head, so I would do minus 9 equals 7 minus 9.
I didn't know if you always did it that way, but sometimes like when I flipped it, I got it right. Other times,
Yeah, because I look in my head and I know, okay, that's a positive 9, so I'm going to have to subtract 9. So I just go ahead and write it as I'm writing it out. Or there's this hybrid way that I taught this one over here. So in the hybrid way, I call it the hybrid way. It's not really a hybrid way, but I write it out. Okay? And then I come up here and I go minus 9, minus 9. So then this right here is telling me what I'm doing, but I don't have to worry about my order that I'm writing. Okay? So you can do that version. There's a couple different ways you can write it out.
I like the hybrid way better than the old way.
I do like the hybrid way, but when you get bigger and more complex ones, even the hybrid way can sometimes mess you up if you're not careful. Okay? Alright, so here we have the dreaded fraction. Dun dun dun. Question?
No, I was wanting to do it.
Okay, hold up. Okay. Now, when we do these fractions, we have to use something called a reciprocal. And please, Lord, let me spell this right. Reciprocal. I hope that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, good. Okay, so basically for a reciprocal, I take my fraction, and what do I do to it?
You flip it.
I flip it. So what is on the top goes to the bottom, and what is on the bottom goes to the top. So my 4 becomes the, what do I call the bottom of a fraction?
Denominator.
Denominator. And my 7 becomes the
Numerator.
numerator. So I've got to find my reciprocal. That's the very first thing I have to do. Okay? We good so far? Okay. Alright, so I found my reciprocal. The second thing I have to do is I have to multiply both sides by my reciprocal. I'm just going to put REC for reciprocal. Is that cool? Okay. So if I have 4 over 7 x minus 2 equals 20, what am I going to multiply this side by? Alexa? 7 over 4. And since I multiplied this side by 7 over 4, what if I multiply this side by?
7 over 4.
7 over 4. Okay, I'm going to flip slides real quick and rewrite this, so give me a second. What was it? X?
7 over 4 times the quantity x minus 2 equals 20. Yep.
Okay. What are these two 7s going to do?
They cancel.
Cancel.
They cancel each other out. And what are these two 4s going to do?
Cancel
Cancel each
out.
other out.
They cancel each other out. So what am I left with on this side?
X
X,
minus 2
the quantity
equals
x minus
20
2.
times 7 over
The quantity x minus 2. So we're going to stick with that for right now. Let's come over here for a second. And let's look at this whole 20 times 7 over 4. There are 2 ways that I could do this. Okay? There's 2 ways. Who wants to give me one of the ways? Alexa.
Put a, what's it called? Divider sign thingy and put 1 below it.
Okay. So 20 over 1.
Cancel them out. You cancel them out like 1 goes into 7 one time,
Okay, 1 goes in 7 one time.
and 4 goes into 25 times. So you cancel 4 out and put 1.
And then the 20 becomes a 5. So I'm left with
7
5 over 1 times 7 over 1. And what's 5 times 1? 5 times 7. Sorry, my bad. 5 times 7.
35.
35 over 1, which is the same thing as
35.
35.
35. So that's way 1. Okay? What's the other way?
I think you turn 20 into an improper fraction.
That, well, technically, yes, but that,
No.
there's an easier way.
Uh,
That's way too hard. Okay, so I'll go ahead and tell you the way. This way is by far the easiest way, if you can do it. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have fractions that there's no way you're going to be able to do this part. So what I can do, I still put it over 20 over 1, but can I not multiply across?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I got to figure out what 20 times 7 is.
140.
140. And what's 1 over 4? What's 1 times 4?
4.
4. So then I figure out what 140 divided by 4 is. Or I reduce the fraction, whichever can happen. Well, it should be the same. It should be the same as this one, right?
Yeah.
It should be 35, since I'm using the same numbers. Okay, so don't laugh at me. What the heck?
I'm not laughing at you.
She's laughing at me.
I was laughing at Jesse.
Okay, so we figured out that 4 would go into 25 times. So we had 5 over 1 times 7 over 1, which ended up being x minus 2 equals 35. So now what do I do?
You minus add 2.
I have to add 2 this time because
It's subtraction.
exactly it's subtraction. This is subtraction, so I have to add 2.
X equals 37.
X equals 37, because these two cancel out. Okay, so I'm going to give you another one, and I want you to try this one on your own. And then we, of course, will go over... Excuse me. Uh-huh. There we go. All right, so it is 5 over 9 times the quantity 8 plus c equals negative 20. Five over 9 times the quantity 8 plus c equals negative 20. All right, so let's start going over this answer. So to solve this, what's the first thing I have to find, Josh Blood? Okay, so it was 9 over 5. So I have to multiply each side by 9 over 5. And that's my reciprocal. And what happens to my 9s on this side? Brooke?
They cancel out.
They cancel out. And what happens to my 5s? Tyler, over there.
They cancel each other out.
They cancel each other out as well. And I'm left with what? Kayla. What am I left with on this side? 8 plus C. Okay, now, a lot of you forgot something very, very important on this other side, and it was this little thing right here.
Negative.
The negative sign. You've got to remember to bring that negative sign down. We can't forget it. It does not disappear just because we don't like it. It's like the pimple right before homecoming dance. Come on, everyone's had a pimple right before homecoming dance. You don't like it and it stays there. It doesn't disappear just because you don't want it to be there.
That always happens on a Monday morning. I'm like,
Or Monday morning, or right before this really like important first date that you like really like the person you're with and you're so nervous and all of a sudden boom, right there on your face. Huge. I wasn't pointing people out. Okay, let's move back. All right, so there are 2 ways. Which way do we want to do it? Do we want to multiply straight across, or we want to go ahead and reduce if we can?
Reduce.
what?
All right, let's reduce.
Wait, what do you mean by reduce?
How many times does 5 go into 20? That's reducing.
Oh, I like that better.
I do too. All right, so Mr. Phillip, how many times does 5 go into 20?
4.
4. So I cross out my 5 and it becomes a... How many times does 5 go into 5? 1. And I cross out my 20 and it becomes a... 5 goes into 20. 4. Okay. So this is now negative 4. And what do I put that over? Connor?
Oh, I know this one.
1, because any number over 1 is
Itself.
itself, the number. Okay? Times 9 over 1. So I rewrite my 8 plus C, because have I done anything to 8 plus C yet?
Nope.
Nope, so it's still the same. And what's negative 4, because I still got to have that negative, times 9. Spencer. Negative 4 times negative 9. Oh, I did say negative times negative, didn't I?
Yeah.
Negative 4 times positive 9. Negative 36. Now what do I do, Ty? Ty. That's what we've been doing for a long time. What do I do now? Oh, saved by the bell.